Good evening. My name is Peter Woolley, and I have the privilege of being provost here at this campus. I always like to say and remind everybody that this is not just a campus, but an estate, the estate of Florence Vanderbilt and Hamilton Twombly, who married and built it. And I like to say, too, that we here follow in the traditions on the estate of Florham, the campus of Florham, in some of the Vanderbilt traditions as much as we can. One of the Vanderbilt traditions was to have more than one home. And so, of course, Fairleigh Dickinson University has 4 homes, one in England, a magnificent manor house, the manor house once of Lord North. We have a home on the banks of the Hackensack River, the Metropolitan Campus, and we have a home in Vancouver. So first I want to ask, are there people here visiting us from our other homes? Do we have Metropolitan Campus students? Let's give them a hand, huh? Those are our brothers and sisters, right? It's a big family, and we have one person here who lives in all 4 homes, and that would be President Sheldon Drucker. And so we also have here, I want to recognize Professor Albiati, who was the speaker here not very long ago. Welcome back to our home. And finally, I'll introduce Dr. Jason Scorza, Professor of Political Science, international man of refined tastes, and Vice Provost for International Education, Academic and International Affairs.
And whatever else you got, Peter.
I got it all. Yeah. Okay.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us on this rainy October evening. We are deeply privileged to have as our speaker today His Excellency, the High Representative for the UN Alliance of Civilizations, Nasser Abdulaziz Al-Nasser. This is not your first time visiting Fairleigh Dickinson University. This is the second time. He has now been to 2 of the 4 Fairleigh Dickinson University campuses, and I earnestly hope that you'll have a chance to visit us someday in the United Kingdom, maybe, and also after the dread business. You are about to witness an incident of what I like to call academic diplomacy, but perhaps it is just diplomacy. We've had the pleasure of meeting a number of times over the years, Excellency, and discussing the Alliance of Civilizations and the important work it does around the world. And I, of course, shared with you the history and the heritage of Fairleigh Dickinson University. So tonight, before we begin the program itself, we will be signing a memorandum of understanding between Fairleigh Dickinson University and the Alliance of Civilizations of the United Nations. And this represents for us the highest honor that you can bestow upon us during this visit, and I hope the first of many instances of cooperation between our institutions. Sure. Just there. Now, I have not properly introduced you. I think that although people certainly will read your bio, they may not be fully aware that you are a seasoned diplomat, that you hold ministerial rank, that you are the former Speaker of the United Nations General Assembly.
President.
I apologize. But the great distinction, which I would like to point out, is that you have joined academia in publishing a great book with New York University Press on the subject of your year as President of the UN General Assembly.
Yes.
So before we begin to talk about your current work, could you tell us a little something about the book, and by way of doing so, also about that year of your presidency?
Sure. So I'm very happy to be with you and share views, and I would like to thank the university for hosting us tonight. And I'm really delighted that this is my second visit. So I hope there will be more of cooperation and exchange of ideas between this distinguished education institute and the Alliance of Civilization. And I will be very happy to share with you some of the work that I had in the last years. To begin with, I would like to start talking about the year which I was fortunate and lucky, I think, to preside over the highest UN body. It's the General Assembly, and especially that session, 66th session. And my dear friend, Ambassador Bayati, at that time, he was ambassador of Iraq to the UN, and we worked together, and I thank him for his friendship and his cooperation. So first, this is the book. And the book, the title is A Year at the Helm of the United Nations General Assembly, A Vision for Our Century. And also, my dear friend, the Secretary General of the UN, he agreed to forward the book beside another dear friend, Professor Farhan Nizami, who is the head of the Prince of Wales Islamic Study Center at Oxford University. So the chair is Prince Charles, he is number 2, and 2 blurbs from James Hogg, former editor of Foreign Affairs and senior advisor, TNU Intelligence, and Professor Vitaly Numkin, chair at the Faculty of World Politics, Moscow State University. So 4 great guys, great friends, they supported this book. And I'll begin with, when I've been elected as a president of the General Assembly, I decided to use a special theme which is the mediation. Mediation for peaceful settlement of disputes. Then I said, on this 1 year, which is not enough, with too much responsibility and too much challenge and work, I decided to focus, or I want the General Assembly to focus on 4 issues. I call them the 4 pillars of the 66 sessions. 1, as I said earlier, mediation for peaceful settlement of disputes. Number 2, pillar 2, UN reform and revitalization. And the 3rd one, natural disaster prevention and response. And 4, sustainable development and global prosperity. Of course, why I choose mediation? I think we see our world going through really a difficult time, a difficult turmoil, where there is another UN body which deals with security and stability for our world, which is Security Council. But the General Assembly, which is the parliament of the world, under Chapter 6 on the UN Charter, authorized to use mediation as a soft power tool to prevent conflicts and diffuse tensions around the world. That's why there is in many years, there were discussions how to revitalize the GA and reform the Security Council. Of course, you know, to bring 193 countries together to agree to reform, and also, you know, when you have an agreement, you need to amend the charter. And it's very difficult, but I think the time has come. The international community, through the United Nations, should do something about it. What we see, same charter since 70 almost years ago. The world has changed, grow, more challenges, more problems that we are facing, maybe because of the science of technology as well and social media. We see the world is shrinking, becoming like a global village. I think the more the world shrink, the more we're going to face challenges. So I think it's about time that the UN should look at seriously how to reform even the charter to begin with, not only General Assembly, because United Nations, there are so many bodies in it, you know, Security Council, General Assembly, ECOSOC, and others. But if I go and explain more and more about this, it will take a long time, but let me, talking about the General Assembly revitalization, I did it in that 1 year by focusing on many issues related to the mandate of the GA, with General Assembly, we call it the GA, and political side, I was presiding over the General Assembly during what's so-called the Arab Spring. So you have Libya, you have Syria, you have, so we get involved, which is unusual. Always people get used to see Security Council only authorized to deal with, but General Assembly, they have the authority also to discuss any issue and deal with it. 2 draft resolutions about Syria, which mandated Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General, as a special envoy to find solution how to solve this problem, and then he couldn't continue. He resigned. Then another resolution mandated Al-Akhdar al-Ibrahimi, also is another famous mediator. But Syria case was really very complicated because so many countries get involved in this issue, which was very difficult, even with great efforts through Geneva I and Geneva II, but the commitment wasn't really serious. And we see the country drifting to really a civil war, to really very difficult situation. And that's going to affect the world, not only the region. And I hope still there is hope that now we see ISIS coming out of this mess, and maybe more. This needs really a collective effort by all members of the United Nations, especially the P5 and the Security Council. When there is disagreement among the P5, the Council become really, it will cannot do anything. And we saw that in the Syrian case. So now we see kind of agreement on fighting ISIS, but it's too late. Still, that's required more work by the international community. We cannot say this is not our responsibility, it's only that region or that sub-region, but this is an international issue today. And to fight or counter the terrorism need collective efforts. General Assembly, of course, on the humanitarian area, for the first time, I spoke to the Secretary General. I told him, look, there is a country which is the international community really forgetting about it, and then we see problem. Al-Qaeda, we see the pirates in the Red Sea, it's Somalia. Why nobody is doing anything to help this country? The more we ignore, the more you see the whole region, Africa, the Middle East will be facing a security issue. Why we pay billions of dollars to fight the pirates on the Red Sea, where we can save that much of money, and maybe half of it or quarter of that we can help Somalia to become a successful state instead of failure state. And I said, to bring the focus of the international, if you and we travel to Somalia, and of course, as soon, and we really worked very closely together, because the relationship between the Secretary General and the President General Assembly, if they are not on good term, nothing will come out. If they are on good term, a lot of things can happen. So he said, I am ready, you tell me when is the time. So we flew to Kenya. This is the closest country that and then from there we have to take a small, charter small plane, also equipped to maneuver, not big planes because no runway, and will be easy target by those terrorist group. So we arrived and we're just waiting for a few hours. Then the chief security came. He said, I have bad news for both of you. It's better if you postpone this trip, because already they know about your visit and they are ready to attack you when you landed at the airport. And of course, this is shocking, I mean, you don't play with, and we have, we have a big staff between the SG and myself, almost between securities, and it's almost 18 people, because that's what the plane can take. And he looked at me, he said, what do you think? I said, if you ask me, what do I think? Nothing I can say except we are going, because we are almost the closest country to Somalia is Kenya. And everybody knows that we are here. And if we decided to go back and postpone it, then we are scared. And we send the wrong message, where those people are waiting for us, hoping that this visit will result in more support by the international community to help that country. And really, he said to me, if you are going, and the chief of staff, he was keep repeating, sir, I advise you to postpone. It's not, it's very serious. I said, no, look, that's your job to protect us. And of course, they arranged and we went. We landed there, we met with the government. They put us on heavy armed vehicles with helmet, like each one weighs 50 kilos. And it's like we are going to war. And with the African Union army, almost 1,000 soldiers, driving to the house of the president. It's like, I don't know if you've seen the the movie about Somalia, the Black Hook. Yeah, exactly the same. The destroy, homes, street. But that visit gave a very good result. And we met with the Prime Minister, with the Parliament, and with everybody there. And then the Secretary General opened the UN base for peacekeeping, and he appointed a representative. So he will be representing him in Somalia, and so he can come and report to the UN, to Security Council or General Assembly. From there, we visited the largest refugees camp in the world. It was on the border between Somalia and Kenya, called Adab. 600,000 people living in a miserable way. When we met them, you look like they are, very skinny, and just some foundation, some charitable, they are try to help them. And I heard there's also a lot of crime and killing inside that. So really, that was one of our great visits, working together with the SG. And then that fall within sustainable development. And then I reorganized, of course, many, like for the Security Council, we had many debates on the different models of reform. There is 3 or 4 groups inside the UN talking about the reform of Security Council. Of course, you have the G5, the B5, the permanent members. Then you have the G4, also those merging powers like Brazil, South Korea, India, and Japan. And then the L69, those big group dealing with what's called United for Consensus, or Consensus for United. And I organize 8 rounds of intergovernmental negotiations to try to push this, and then 1 retreat outside the UN. So we want them to forget about, when everybody inside the UN, everybody careful. And then that really generate a momentum. But the problem, as I said, is 1-year mandate. It's not enough. Even if you can make miracles, you cannot do that in 1 year. I was lucky that I was, before I been elected, I was ambassador of Qatar to the UN for 13 years. So I know the system, I know everybody, and I've been elected on February 2011. So between February till September, I did my homework with my team, and I was ready, and I know everybody. But for somebody else who doesn't know anybody, he comes first, he needs to get to know the UN system and to get to know all ambassadors and high officials in the UN. By the time he did that, almost half of the year is gone. Then talking about issue, almost. So 1 year, it's not enough, and he will leave, and the second one will come, maybe with different agenda. So I try to pave the road that we continue. We need continuation in order to really revitalize the General Assembly. Talking about sustainable development and global prosperity, of course, during that year, the summit, the World Summit on Rio +20, which took place in Brazil, was successful with the outcome document. And of course, the General Assembly really contributed a lot to that. And also, on the other hand, you see, when there is financial crisis around the world, you see the G20, the World Bank, the IMF, and other, the G8, deal with this issue. Today, when there is a financial crisis like what's happened before in 2007 or 8, the whole world has been affected, not only United States or Europe, because we are connected. You know, you cannot, if the economy here is weak and Europe is weak, the rest of the world will suffer. It's like a flu. So I said, the General Assembly, it's the responsible body. And then we ask the G20 that before any meeting and after the meeting, they should send a delegation to address the General Assembly and tell them what's going to be discussed, and after that, the agreement or result, so we can look at it and debate it. This is one. And I went to Washington, I met with the World Bank, IMF, I said, look, you cannot just, we need you. I am going to organize a high-level summit, and that summit called the State of the World Economy. You know, to encourage everybody to come to the General Assembly, I said, look, there is no outcome document, there is no draft resolution. What we are going to focus on is President summary report, which will be discussion, recommendation, a new solution, new ideas. And then on Libya, of course, it was situation was getting very difficult, where I to enhance the role of the General Assembly, because there is a committee under the authority of the President called Credential Committee. It's 9 countries, 3 B5, Russia, United States, and China, and then the 6 represent all regional geographic group. And at that time, the government or the Gaddafi want to send a delegation. He want to the UN. The US told him we cannot issue any visa. So no official representation from the Libyan government, which people start, you know, disconnect their relation with. And the opposition, they are screaming outside the UN premises. And I said, to help the opposition, to help the Libyan, we should do something. And then I restructured the committee. I told them, look, we need to change the representation by Gaddafi and give the president to the opposition, who already now on the ground, they have government, they have, but they cannot. And they, we put it on, we draft a resolution, and then we vote on it, and they agreed. So we gave the seats to the opposition. We opened the door for them. They came to the General Assembly on 16th of September. On 20th, in the Security Council, the head of states, including President Obama and all, they raised the new flag of Libya. So this never happened before in the history of the General Assembly. So to enhance, you need the guts, you need to know the system, you need the support. Otherwise, many people said, why I should get involved in this credential committee, and tomorrow I'm going to face problem here. But no, when you are there, you have to fulfill your job and deliver, as everybody expects this from you. So this is from Somalia to Libya to Syria, and humanitarian. Also, I visited Japan after the hurricane, and we organized a meeting there, also in the General Assembly, to bring the focus and awareness of what the natural disaster. I mean, here in New York, we face that hurricane, which has really cost this country so many lives and so much financial. And we need the international to. So now we see more initiatives to deal with a humanitarian issue. Like I come from Qatar, and Qatar came with very great idea on humanitarian. When I was ambassador of Qatar, I negotiate with all member states to reorganize an initiative called Hope For. And then many countries join, and it's working. When there is crisis, this is also contribute and then mediation, of course, as I said, 2 draft resolution been endorsed in the General Assembly as recognized as the UN, with the preventive diplomacy tool or soft power tool.
This may actually be a good point to start drawing some connections between the work you did as President of the General Assembly and your current work. And I've noticed 3 themes come from your comments so far. Obviously, the first is soft power. The second is looking at the underlying economic and social causes of civil unrest and violence, and certainly your experience in Somalia, your focus on that country as a source of instability certainly is significant in that regard. And the third theme that I've drawn from your observations so far is the idea of preventative action, which is to say, not just sitting and waiting for the next crisis and responding to that crisis. Could you talk about those 3 themes, the preventative efforts, focusing on underlying and root causes, and focusing on soft power solutions? Could you talk about those 3 themes with reference to the Alliance of Civilizations and the work that you're doing now?
Yes, of course. The theme after when I finish my responsibility as a President of General Assembly, and then I've been appointed as the new High Representative for the Alliance of Civilization. Of course, there already, when they established the Alliance, also the high-level group who represent many eminent personalities from the world, they said to focus to focus on the alliance work, we should choose 4 pillars. Pillar 1, education. Pillar 2, youth. Pillar 3, migration. Pillar 4 is media. And that's since the inception of the alliance, which is 6 years ago or 7. They've been working on the 4 pillars. A year and a half, when I became the High Representative, I said, this is great, but it's not enough. I think the alliance work is soft power tool to prevent conflicts and diffuse tensions. Also, we need it. This is exactly. So I add to the work of the alliance mediation as well, and I said also we need more sport, arts, and entertainment. So going back to mediation, how we use this soft power tool. You see, today we see there is really conflicts coming out of culture, religion. Migration can create many problems, ethnicities.
When you say migration, you of course also mean refugees and the like.
Yeah, because migration, they leave their countries because of conflicts, because of poverty, because so some of them are well educated. They will be accepted from the country that they go there. Some of them are not. Lack of education, lack of languages. So they become a target by the government to get rid of them. And this will create clashes. So we use, we have many programs, first to deal with the youth. Education is very important. Youth programs we bring people from conflict area as well, and we run programs how to live together, how to work together, and also use when there is a religious conflict, we use dialogue. We always look at the religious leaders, moderate religious leaders from both sides, to play a role in bringing people together and try to diffuse this tension and try to mediate. As well, civil society, they have a role, not only government, religious leader. So our mission today to promote dialogue, and this is the only way, and also now a new issue, which is I was involved in the last few days before I left the General Assembly, reconciliations and forgiveness. We need that today more than ever, because you see what's happening in the Middle East and Africa and somewhere else in Asia. Many, of course, we need to engage a region organization, because sometimes you cannot just go and jump on Asia or on Africa or in the Middle East or Latin America or in Europe and say, so let's first we deal with EU, we deal with African Union, Arab League, ASEAN, like in the case of Myanmar, when this between the Buddhists and the Muslims had this clash. Many people said we should bring this issue to the General Assembly or Security Council. I said this will complicate the issue. They belong to a regional region, which called ASEAN, very active, very effective. And there you see Indonesia is a moderate country, Malaysia, this is from the Muslim side. And then you have other countries like China, like Vietnam, like Philippines, like Thailand. They can work on and I met one delegation. I said, look, the best way to really solve this problem and diffuse this tension, we need the role of religious leader, not politician, nobody else. And I think this is one way academia, they can play a great role in our work. That's why we have many partners with many universities around the world, and you're today, John, that of course, private sector, they have a responsibility, because if there is conflicts, how can the private sector be active? I mean, when there is no stability and security, always the business will be the first target to. So now we have many partners, especially on youth. We have our partner BMW, they support our work, and we have many programs with them. Just here, unless you want to.
Well, yes, thank you. You know, when you look at the title of the program, if we can focus on just the name of your office, the Alliance of Civilizations. My understanding is that this title was chosen as almost like a response to the idea that civilizations naturally and inevitably conflict with each other, that it's sort of hardwired into humanity to fight and struggle across lines of language or religion or ethnicity. And if that thesis is true, that the clashes of civilizations are inevitable, well then first, and no kidding aside, your job is the hardest job in the world. But if we don't believe that those clashes are inevitable, then what are the causes of the conflicts that we see, not just today between Sunni and Shia, or Christians and Muslims, or Buddhists and Muslims? Is there some other source that we need to be focusing on other than the cultures themselves or the civilizations themselves?
Yes, you see, maybe some of you, they don't know why the United Nations agree to create a UN body called Alliance of Civilization. That idea came after the September 11th. Came the initiative introduced, the Prime Minister of Spain at that time, he came to the General Assembly after, what's happened in New York was really a huge tragedy and scared the whole world because we don't know what's going to happen after that. So he came, he said, he said, this is the beginning of a gloomy future. What's happened here, maybe it's going to happen somewhere else, and that will lead to really clash of civilization. And at that time, he came, he said, I think the United Nations should look at this initiative seriously, and I want this initiative to deal with cultural conflicts and religious conflicts. And at that time, the whole world looked at September 11th, that is clash or beginning of problems between the Muslim world and the West. That was the idea. But later on, I said, this is not true. There's few terrorists, they did this, and you cannot just blame the whole world that they are against the West, or the West are against the Arab world or the Muslim world. So in any way, the General Assembly welcomed this initiative, and then they handed over to the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. He said, we need this organization. So I'm just giving a little bit of background for the audience to know why they create this. And then he decided to appoint 20 personalities, high-level personalities from all the world, from all regions, and some of them politicians, some of them from private sector, some of them scholars, some religious leader, to come and this is to be the tool, to be ready to help and to prevent any clash or any conflicts in the world. So the awareness of this today, it's there. And now I see, in a year and a half, I see more demand for our work than ever. A few years, people said, what exactly Alliance of Civilization? What exactly you are doing? Today, everybody knows that I am in charge of this organization. They will say, well, God help you. Because we see in the world today either religious conflict, culture, conflict. We see this is what the Prime Minister of Spain at that time was worried about. And you know, we see today ISIS, all of them coming not only from the same region, they are fleeing because why we decided to focus on the media. Media can play dangerous role or can play a positive. Today, social media really, they are using a very smart, those ISIS people, to encourage and attract many young people around the world, those who are coming from an unstable family, lack of education, poor background. And this guy, he sees something that for him it's a great thing to go to heaven or to fight so today there is many initiatives by encouraging the dialogue among religions. Many great initiatives around the world. There is many centers today open in the world to deal with reconciliation and forgiveness. There is many many initiatives also to involve and engage that this is not only a governmental responsibility. This needs a collective by civil society, private sector, academia, and the government. And not the conflict between the West and the Muslim world. Today, the alliance is responsible for all problems around the world, created from the UN to address all issues around the world. It's not this region or that religion. So we deal with all problems and conflicts.
Is it your view that it is underlying social and economic problems that allow cultural differences or religious differences to be exploited by certain kinds of leaders?
Yes, of course. You know, marginalize the youth, the lead, you know, as I said, start from, but when there is no chance for any opportunities for them, also lack of education. The education system can play really a major role. And today we have to through UNESCO, through the UN, and I'm sure they have to really try to adopt new approaches how we can bring awareness to our youth, our children, not to get involved with this group or that group. Poverty plays a major role. When we see United Nations near 2000 agreed that the MDGs or the Millennium Goal by 2015, the poverty should be reduced till the minimum in order to help the sustainable development and prosperity. So many countries failed in fulfilling their commitment. Next year, which is not far away, the Millennium Goal or the MDGs will be over, and unfortunately, the result is very minimum. So that's also affect our world, affect our culture, affect our societies, and stability and security.
Would you say that inequality between wealthier countries and poorer countries, as well as inequality within particular countries is a concern?
Yes, today what's happening is concern all of us. Even though Qatar is, thank God, is a wealthy country, and the government, they know when there is, if the ground's not being prepared by investing on the brain of young people, good education, great education, to let them be good citizens, help their societies, and be creative. Yes, also we are, I don't know if we are lucky or not, but we are a small nation as well, and this can manageable. But there is many great models around the world, which they are doing good job. But you see the problem today, we need more effective and active United Nations. When I said we have to reform the charter in order to address all issues, that it's why when we commit, now we are talking and discussing in the United Nations post 2015 and beyond. What's the next target? And we see, yes, sometime from time we see the world hit by financial crisis, but I think still we can work together and address all these issues and try to come up with a great solution. United Nations doing its best, but still we have to upgrade the system as well. And then we have to learn from all the lessons that we look at Africa. Some countries are doing good job, but they need the help of the international community. In Asia, things is different. In Latin America, I think I can see we need more involvement of the UN system.
Because that is the only place where everyone has a seat at the table.
Exactly.
When we see civil wars, when we see bloodshed between cultures or faiths, it's almost too late, isn't it? Because that's not the cause of the conflict. That is the symptom.
Yes.
That there's been an underlying something festering in the society that would allow that kind of violence to come to the forefront. In all of your travels and your experience, are there particular countries that have gotten this right, that have understood how to respect diversity, that have understood how to do interfaith or intercultural dialogue, that have worked, that have cracked the code of how to teach people about other faiths without abandoning their native faith?
Yes, of course. You see, we always call for, when sometime you see, he said we have to address the root causes. Why this is happening? Not only because this one killed that one and then the problem began. No, there is something underneath the ground. And as you said, diversity today, it's very important, because global village bring all the international society closer to each other, and this would be like when you see countries like like Indonesia, which we just held our global event. And that's a great example, and we try to promote that. And even the theme for that meeting was called Unity in Diversity, by using all, as I said, religious leaders to come up and try to reach out to and encourage them. There is religion that should be respected. There is belief and faith should respect, and we are at the end. We are human. We are one family, Yes, we have our own differences, but that's why we should to promote tolerance, to promote, to fight xenophobia and intolerance, and promote dialogue and promote cultural peace as well. So now we see more like the international community, they are awakening as well when they saw what this ISIS is doing. And ISIS is a combination of people coming from all over the world, using religion for their own sake and for their own plan. Now we see Al-Azhar is even they are talking about how if they use good religious leader, even with the color and the study on their books, we need more involvement by religious like the Vatican, like Al-Azhar, like all religions in the world. We should, I think, I'm trying, when I was President of the General Assembly, one day I organized a Harmony Week, and it's never happened before. 1,200 religious leaders came from all over the world and gathered under really respect, love, and singing together, showing their and we need to promote that in order to create really a great positive environment.
Thank you. I think we have time if you're willing to take a few questions from our audience. Yeah. Who has the microphones? Okay, great. So if you'd like to ask a question of the ambassador, if you'd raise your hand and wait for the microphone to come to you. First, the handsome gentleman on my right, 3/4 of the way back. Yes, right here.
I have a question about this issue of global inequalities, whether we're talking about inequalities within regions such as the United States or within across regions, across countries, across continents. It seems that sustainable development is often offered as a remedy to poor countries who are really struggling with their basic needs, while capitalist countries who in actuality and in reality need the sustainable development are kind of exporting the idea of sustainability to those poor countries. At the same time, the poor countries need fast development in order to get out of their poverty, in order to develop their own infrastructure. What's your take on this kind of thesis? Is this a kind of a new form of neocolonialism that we are basically trying to export our ideas instead of reforming ourselves and adopting sustainability within advancement ways? We are selling it to the poor countries who basically need something else.
You see, the sustainable development, or even what the United Nations called was, the sustainable development and the MDGs recommendation to reduce poverty. This is the problem which the international community is facing in some regions. There is commitment, but there is no. Some of the countries they fail in doing so by blaming it on some reason, like financial crisis, like this and that. Of course, I think maybe we have to look at another mechanism. If we failed not to deliver what has been agreed before end of 2015, I think now the discussion is going on for post-2015 and beyond. Okay, next year we come together and ask ourselves, well, what's happened? And still, But I think, and we are really, the mission of the alliance is not only limited with we are anything related to peace, security, stability, we are involved. Countering terrorism, we are involved. Sustainable development, we are involved. Because we have to see how we can, from our side, I mean, there is other organization in the UN system deal with this, but also regional groups. And I think this time to come again and agree in a new document for 2015 and beyond, I think the discussion will be really tough. And I'm sure they're going to look at what kind of mechanism we need not to fail, because poverty, hunger lead to disaster, and now also, we try to tackle one problem, the other problem rise, climate change. Climate change today is a serious threat to our global, to our life, to our global world. So the challenges is really growing, but we need more focus, we need more commitment, and we need strong United Nations. Thank you.
Some more questions? The young lady in the third row close to the aisle, and then we'll take the gentleman in the last row on the left. If you keep your hand up so they can bring you a microphone. Please, go ahead.
I believe that you said that the Alliance of Civilizations was implemented based on 9/11. I believe that's what you said, but do you think that since it has been implemented, and with everything that's going on in the world, do you think that there has been more analytic? Do you think that this program has helped decrease the amount of conflicts? Do you think that it has helped in any way with what is termed as the clash of the civilizations?
You see, let me first tell you, this organization is still young. Established, start 2001, but by the time they restructured, start 2005. Our work, of course, today, the contribution by the Alliance on addressing many sensitive issues is growing. But also, our work depends on how the member states want us to grow. We rely on the group friends, we don't call, which is, we have the member states are member in our group, and also many organizations, UN organization, and private sectors, and academia, and NGOs, and civil society. Now, the awareness of the importance of our work is growing. You see, the more cultural problem, the more religious problem, everybody is coming to us. Of course, that need not only a commitment, there is financial commitment, there is political commitment, and we try to encourage private sector also to take their responsibility, and not only religious leader or academia or civil society or NGOs, because as much as we benefit, they benefit more. So they have a responsibility. So when you have a strong organization, Alliance of Civilization, strong one, you will see more positive results.
Before we go to the next question, I'd like to follow up on the last question. Certainly part of the challenge is that certain states perpetuate privilege and inequalities based on racial characteristics or religious characteristics or ethnic characteristics. And if we look around the world at some of the most seethingly difficult civil war situations. They emerged from the conditions of either a minority oppressing a majority or a majority oppressing a minority. What can anyone at the UN do about those underlying systemic inequalities that are perpetuated by the states themselves? Is this even something that can be discussed openly?
Yeah, I mean, I can only tell you about what we are doing with this issue. I cannot speak about everyone, but the Alliance of Civilization, as I said, you know, why we have education, youth, migrations, and media. Today we have many programs for the youth, to educate them. We have a great focus on migration and migrants, and with sometime the media can flame the issue and create conflicts. When you see today what's happening, those people are fleeing from their countries across the ocean because of conflicts, because of economic problem, because of civil war, because of hunger. And we try to organize a special program for young journalists. We already organized 2 seminars, one in Paris, one in Geneva, and how to deal, how to address this issue, how to not also, and about also minorities, you know, religious minorities and migration, migrants. How to address this issue instead of blaming it and try to create problems than creating a solution. Because migrants, we should also show the world they are not bad people. Nobody wants to leave his home to go to somewhere else and across and die in the ocean, but because of special need, they want to live. They want to live with dignity. They don't want to be living like animals. So they take this risk by crossing the oceans. So we have responsibility to address this issue, to show those can contribute to the society, can contribute to the economy, and to the prosperity of the country they are living now. And also, on the other hand, people, they don't know that why this issue is important. He said, well, why migration is new? Because the problem in the world, in some countries, today they are the wealthiest country. Let's take Japan, Germany, Finland, Italy. In few years, the youth percentage will disappear. And they turn to be an aging country. You know, when you have 70% old people, what's going to happen to the economy of the country? It will collapse. So what's the solution for that? They need migration. They need migrants. They said, yeah, but this, no, but you need to benefit from them. You have to take care of them first. You have to teach them the language. You have to give them the best courses to be skilled and try to help themselves and help the economy and the society they are living with. So this is where we are addressing the root causes. We have to look at the root causes if we want to prevent any problems.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more short questions, and then we'll take the gentleman in the first row here on my right.
I was going to comment on the sustainability question, but I'll skip that. You emphasized mediation. I was wondering if there is some less known, very successful mediation case study that you could tell us about. Some good news perhaps. And also, are there things that academics could get involved with when it comes to mediation to try to make it work better?
So 2 questions. We'll allow that. The first is there an example that you can tell us about where mediation between cultures or religious groups or ethnicities has been effective? And secondly, the question is, what can we as academics and students do to contribute? Not to the conflicts, to the mediation.
Yeah. Well, there is many successful cases. Let's give you a small example. Like maybe I've been inspired by what my country, Qatar, is doing. You know, in the last 10, 15 years. It's a small nation, but they decided to really help by contributing to bring peace and stability. So they get involved in conflicts on racism, religious culture in Africa, and in the Arab world. You take Lebanon as one. You take Eritrea and Djibouti is another one. So this is one of many, many stories that's happened. You know, in Europe as well. You know what's happened on the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and when what they called Dayton. Huh? Dalton Agreement, and also, you know, I can also mention great mediators like the former president of Finland, who was involved in, I think, Atisari in Africa, and yeah, that's Kosovo. Many, and we can really learn from what has been achieved, and there is also the regional organization, like you see African Union, what they are doing to get involved when there is problems among the African countries. The same in the some need the regional organization that can handle this, but sometimes, like on the Syria case today, it's beyond the Arab League ability, and it's an international obligation. Even today, Yemen and Libya, I think they need the international. When I mention soft power, it's sometime after the conflicts, when there is a political will to stop the crisis. That's where our work follow. How to heal the society, how to bring them together. Like in the case of Syria today, the society, it's like a mosaic. It's became many parts. It's not to stop the war today. It's how to bring the society in order to create one society and one country. So this is where we should focus on.
We can have one question from Ambassador Al-Bayadi.
Well, thank you, Jason, for this lovely evening, and I would like to thank everybody at Federal University for this invitation. Of course, I have the privilege and honor to work with NASA for long now, 7 years maybe, as an ambassador of Iraq to the UN. I worked with him when he was ambassador of Qatar and the General Assembly, and I wish I could help him with this huge task that he is handling. We need this kind of alliance or civilization and organization or you which you sent today. Hopefully the academia will help the UN and the UN will work together with the academia to help solving such a problem. I've noticed that you focus on youth, education, migration, And of course, social and economic problems is one of the major problems behind extremism and terrorism. But if you look at leaders of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden was from one of the wealthiest families in Saudi Arabia. Ayman al-Zawahiri is a physician and he could live a very good life. Abu Umar al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, he has a PhD. So there's no lack of money, education, and legal stability. Those who are joining ISIS from Europe, there are thousands of European, American, Canadian, Australian who are joining ISIS, not because they need money or jobs or education. I think because of ideology. And what I see in the whole US media, there is a lack of issue of ideology. Watch any channel, you don't see the issue of ideology. I think the whole world should come together to emphasize that there is no religion in the world. There is no holy book. There is no prophet or messenger who allow anybody to hurt anybody else. God created all of us according to the Bible, the Torah, the Quran. We were created from Adam and Eve, one big family. And as you said, we live in a global village now. But it is important to tell young people who think they will go to heaven by killing themselves and killing people, that they're going to go to hell. And this is maybe one of the ways to stop the flood of young people recruited, brainwashed by ISIS and other extreme groups. What happened, we have to be aware that we had Al-Qaeda and 9/11, now we have ISIS and what they are doing. The next generation will be more extreme and more brutal. I can see that coming. Because when I talked to Fairleigh Dickinson University last year about a fourth generation, I signed up a contract. Peter Woolley helped me to sign this contract about fourth generation of terrorism. There was no ISIS at all at that time. This is last year. But I realized there's a fourth generation coming from the situation in Iraq and Syria. And I predict now that fifth generation, we already see countries like Tunisia. And it's a democracy now after the collapse of the dictatorship. But you know what? The largest number of Arabs with ISIS are from Tunisia. The largest number. What does that tell you? The democracy now, the freedom they have is misused by extremists. And don't rule out that you could have a fifth generation from North Africa. We have in Nigeria, we have in Libya, we have in Tunisia. So, Nasser, I know you are doing a great job, and I work with you and I enjoy working with you. But what are you doing regarding the ideology to tell these people, you are wrong. If you kill yourself, if you kill other people, you're not going to go to heaven as you've been told, but you are doing the opposite of what you want to achieve. Because they keep saying, we love death more than the Westerners and American love life.
Thank you so much.
We saved the easy question for last.
Thank you so much. You see, I agree with you. You know, I visited Cambodia a few years ago in a different mission. I was in Security Council. So the government, after I finished all my discussion with them, they said, we need you to visit a very special place, Sihanouk, in the capital, I think. A special prison. You know, I've never in my life seen something like that. How was the Khmer Rouge, they used to torture the people, you know. And coming from General Boot, yeah, he is one of the most smart students on the Sorbonne. Graduate from the Sorbonne, lived in Paris, and back to his country. And look what he did. He killed 3 million people for no reason. He burned the banks, schools, sport clubs. you know, and he used boys 15 years old. They just go and kill people for no reason. So this is where today the responsibility, I always say government, of course they have responsibility, but no. Religious leader, they should get together from all over and address this issue and come with special approach. The scholars, the academia, the school, the universities as well on their, and then civil society, we should, but the role of media, like I agree with you today, if you look at Facebook, and it's really, it's fueling I mean, young people, they show them the image of this guy with no head, and they said, because this is from, you know, I mean, we are human, we have feelings, but we need to really be prepared. And otherwise, I can see, not only in our region, it will be everywhere. This is, social media today can play positive or can really destroy the whole world. And I agree with you, even when the media here accusing this religion, you are not helping on this. We should look at it. Why this is happening? This is not Islam, this is not you know, coming from the Christianity or from the Judaism or from you know, Hinduism or from, there is something that we should be ready and careful, and we have to rush. Every day and I'm trying from my side to bring this to the UN and addressing why I am now, one of my focus is reconciliations and forgiveness. You know, I met a professor from England. He is now preparing a team. He wants to go and talk to ISIS. He said, we have to, how those guys think. What we hear only from Twitter or from Facebook, no, face to face, what's the problem? You know, let's address why you are doing this, you know. So I think we should encourage those people. I know the challenge is big, but we can, if there is a goodwill. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. Would you please join me in thanking Ambassador al-Nasser? The ambassador begs for one last word.
Yeah, last word. You see, between me and Ambassador Bayati, when I was President of the General Assembly, he came to me. He said, there is something I like to work with you in it. You can help me. I said, what? He said, let's celebrate the day of happiness in the world. And I said, well, I love this. And happiness is not just being happy. It came from Bhutan, because Bhutan is supposed to be the happiest country in the world. And happiness related to sustainable development, of course. But it's great to be happy. When you are happy, you become positive. When you are positive, you become creative, and you become a good citizen. So we worked hard, and today, on 22nd? 20th of March. Huh? 20th? 20th of March, there is President resolution. The international community celebrate the International Day of Happiness in the world. Thank you, Ambassador.